Social solidarity is the game that's happening currently. If you win, you get nothing. If you lose, grandma dies. The COVID-19 pandemic has exposed the best and the worst in people. It's become like the world's biggest team-building exercise ever. Like when your employer takes your whole team to a resort, but you're stuck inside all weekend watching Tim from accounting slowly try to justify his many bad life choices by demonstrating in his presentation that if you try, you can make spreadsheets fun. Just like the team retreats for work, working together can make them end faster. One of you brings some booze, someone else brings some booze. In fact, if we all bring some booze, no one will even remember Tim's god-awful PowerPoint. That's kind of what social solidarity is. If you haven't heard the term social solidarity before, the concept is quite simple. Let's say you and I were in a canoe in the middle of a lake. If we each think we're at the front of the canoe and start rowing in opposite directions, we won't get anywhere. If we realize we're in the same canoe and share the same goal of getting back to shore, we can work together and row in the same direction. That's an overly simple example, but you get the point. The concept of social solidarity was first noted in 1893 by Émile Durkheim in France, where, if you've ever visited France, will be evident in how everyone there works together to hate tourists in unison. He actually broke it down into two categories: mechanical solidarity, which is based on resemblance or territory, and organic solidarity, which is more like the relationship between a farmer that grows food to feed factory workers who build tractors that farmers need. It's more about the collective good. For today's purposes, and because our world is much more diverse than it was in the 19th century, let's refer to organic solidarity as social solidarity. Social solidarity is incredibly powerful and incredibly important, especially when it comes to battling a national crisis like a pandemic. A glaring example of how important social solidarity is the advice given by health experts during lockdown about physical distancing and wearing a mask to help slow the spread of COVID-19. Some people have ignored that advice, or worse, have decided that it's somehow an infringement upon their own personal freedoms. A video made the rounds on Twitter on Sunday, posted by a woman in Toronto who had gone to a local hospital because of a suspected broken finger. Upon arriving, she was told she would need to wear a mask. She refused. In a hospital. To wear a mask during a pandemic. In a hospital. The woman felt that wearing a mask was infringing upon her personal freedoms and rights. Much like the droplets of stupidity spraying from her mouth on the healthcare workers who, let's face it, must be really tired of dealing with morons. The woman was refused entry and escorted out of the hospital. And she posted the video to Twitter herself. Like she was filming some great injustice and was to be praised and showered in sympathy. Thankfully, and this makes my Canadian heart swell with pride, her post was not met with the reception she may have expected. At last look, there were over 27,000 replies to only 4,500 likes. Though still, who are those 4,500 people? Seriously, they should have their butter tarts and poutine revoked immediately. I'm not advocating vigilante cancel culture, threats, or even just being mean, but those 27 people who replied proved that one of the many things Canada does well is social solidarity. Perhaps it's tied to our universal healthcare, the idea that if I can help you stay healthy, it will benefit me. If you're healthy, you won't spend time with a doctor or in the hospital or receiving treatment that will cost money and may increase the cost to taxpayers. A notion that we're all in this together and we are each other's responsibility as Canadians. We're in the same canoe, so let's work together. That's it, isn't it? That was the one. That canoe analogy just pushed me into the Order of Canada territory, didn't it? Yes. Though Canada is doing well on slowing the spread of COVID-19, the same cannot be said of some of our friends in other countries. The UK allowed pubs to reopen for the first time since March, just this weekend, and pictures on social media showed masses of people crammed into pubs and streets, hardly a mask to be seen. Pictures and videos on social media from the US show scenes of packed beaches, bars, parties, and political events. Okay, some of the political events have less people than the bars, but you get the idea. And we're also seeing massive pushbacks on people in various countries at the thought of slightly modifying their personal behavior for the benefit of others. A woman filmed herself tearing down all of the masks on a display in Target. That would never happen in Canada because we don't have Target. Target promised us so much and said we wouldn't even miss Zellers. They used us for less than a year and then just disappeared like a comfortably but fashionably dressed person of indeterminate age into the night, wearing a pair of affordable Airwalk sneakers and a fetching Massimo casual shirt. Canada's abundance of social solidarity, even if we don't always agree, has translated into some people wearing masks and adhering to physical distancing, which has all led to Canada flattening the pandemic curve. And we all know we're not out of the woods just yet. So we need to continue to work together, to paddle the canoe in the same direction as our neighbors until we reach our goal. I'm really hammering that canoe analogy to make sure it gets noticed.